discuss if opioids should be banned or not. In recent times, opioids have become viewed as more of a recreational drug because of the long and dangerous list of side effects that come with it, and a dependency that a lot of people develop while using opioids. But opioids continue to be a medication that is prescribed only really chronic pains and chemo, for a patient going through chemotherapy, for example. It's a medication meant for pain that over-the-counter medication would not be able to cover. But the associated risks that opioids have along with them have turned them into more of a necessary evil in some people's eyes, and less of a medication that a lot of people actually rely on to get through day-to-day life. But today I'd like to cover the risk of opioids and how it affects the brain, the treatments that are already available for opioids, for example, medications, and explain what can be done to prevent opioids from being banned, and stopping a line of research on medication that a lot of people find very important. So first I'd like to explain the problems that opioids have with them and the effects that it has on the brain. So opioids come with a plethora of risk. Opioids are a strong medication that's meant for a type of pain that you wouldn't be able to take an ibuprofen for. But because of that, opioids come with a very long list of side effects, some of them a lot more dangerous than the others. So a lot of the common side effects: sedation, nausea, vomiting, constipation, physical dependency, tolerance that people develop while using and constantly taking opioids, and respiratory depression, which is also known as hypoventilation, are generally more common than opioid dependency, or the psychological dependency that people develop for it. The two most common of that list being nausea and constipation. But the psychological dependency that occurs with opioids when people start to abuse it is what is put in the limelight of being less of a medication and more of a recreational drug. The way that opioids work is they target the opioid receptors in the brain. This is what leads to the psychological dependency, as the body stops functioning in certain ways to accompany the drug being in your system. So when you have it in you, your brain and your body start to function normally. But when that drug is no longer present inside your body or any of your systems, your body starts to behave abnormally, and that leads to also the physical dependency. In an article published at PNC, archived on ncbi.gov, titled "The Neurobiology of Opioid Dependency and Implications for Treatment," discusses the effects of opioids on the brain more in depth. The dependency, tolerance, and addiction all stem from brain changes to function in the environment when opioids are present. People become addicted to opioids because of the reward system that our body naturally has in it. For example, when you eat food, your body gives you responses that encourage you to keep eating food. The body also behaves the same way with opioids and other recreational drugs, so it encourages you to keep using them. This leads to addiction because now not only does the body need the opioid in it to actually function normally because of the effects on your receptors and how your brain has changed to accompany it, but now it's encouraged by the reward system that we naturally have in us. Tolerance starts to build as the receptors get used to the opioid actually being in your body and being present. So you need to take more of the drug to actually feel the same high or the same effect or get the same reward that you did when you first started using. But now that we've gone over the side effects and risk of opioid use and how it affects the body, I'd like to discuss the treatments that we have available. Now, opioids can be treated like a lot of other addictions with an intervention, but that requires the patient or the addict at that point to have a strong support system that they can rely on, whether it's family and friends, or if it's a rehab facility that they must go to, or any other type of palliative care. If the patient must see a specialist to go to a rehab center, like with other drugs, it is very important for the family or friends to still be active and important and a huge part of it, so that the person does not feel like they're going through this alone. For most of the common side effects brought on by opioids, there is still an issue of curing them. For some of them, they actually do have medications that counter them, but they only counter a specific one. And a lot of these are treated or really only administered while in a hospital or if you're in palliative care. Certain ones, for example, like trexone, for example, is meant to treat nausea, but it will not affect constipation or any of the other side effects that come with it. So now I'd like to discuss why I believe opioids should not be banned and what can actually be done on a personal level to prevent the spread of opioid addiction and to make sure that any of the side effects, risks, do not affect you. The simplest one is to have them be more regulated. For example, if someone is prescribing a opioid, prescribing a medication like methadone or buprenorphine, along with the opioid, would actually combat any of the side effects before they pop up and would help reduce the addiction or the chance of addiction with it. So it's more of making sure that they have access to what they need before the side effects ever set in and it's too late. Another way to do it would be to actually make sure that a lot of the people who are coming in are going through background checks or family history, checking their family history to make sure that chronic pain is actually a plausible thing for them to suffer from. A lot of people misuse opioids and they can go in and if they say their back hurts and they can act long enough to make the doctor believe it, they can get access to the opioid, even if they don't have it. So the best way to combat the spread of opioid is also to make sure that you are taking it the way you're supposed to make sure nobody else has access to them and is using them as a recreational drug, and to also just make sure you can try your best to encourage other people to not misuse opioids. Now that I've explained to you the effects of opioids, how they affect the body and brain, the treatments that we currently have available, and ways to reduce the risk of opioids and the spread of opioid addiction on a personal level, I hope you agree that opioids should not be banned, and even though they do have a long list of side effects with them, and that's what gives them more of an evil presence in people's minds, that you understand that people rely on them on a day-to-day life, and on a day-to-day basis to get through everyday life. And if opioids are banned, opioids would never be researched. And a lot of the side effects that are what is important to people now and is why they believe they're banned may not exist in the future if we keep researching opioids and reducing side effects and addiction as we go along in research. And if opioids are banned, something else will pop up which may have the same side effects and have the same risk associated with it that opioids already have with them. And it would be another battle and it'd be another cycle about it. All right.